Hello, my name is Michelle Wolford. Today I'll be sharing a portion of my research findings I encountered while preparing a group paper for my Thomas Edison State College Nuc 495 capstone class. Together with the two other members of my groups, Eric Brillant and Corinne Ricketson, I was tasked with researching the possibility of a nuclear renaissance. In today's world of increasing demand for energy, demand for clean energy, concerns over climate change, and the dependence on fossil fuels, a nuclear renaissance just seems inevitable. So why hasn't this happened? However, the rise has not yet to occur. Our research has set out to discover what does the future hold for nuke power. Is the nuclear renaissance fact or indeed fiction? To begin, Eric, Corinne, and I worked together to determine which factors we felt affected the growth of nuclear energy. We were met with a multitude of choices. To keep within the scope of our assignment, each group member chose just one major factor affecting nuclear power. I chose winning the public's trust. I chose to discuss the reasons for current public opinion with the goal of discovering why they felt this way, how the nuclear industry can win the public's trust. Eric's research involved research and development of new nuclear technologies that are taking place within nuclear energy, while Corinne is reporting on how nuclear energy will establish a favorable business case and the economics going forward. Our oral presentation is broken down into three separate parts, with each of the group members presenting a portion of their findings. In my research for winning the public's trust, I was struck by the perception the general public still holds and maintains of nuke power. Where did these perceptions originate? How have they been propagated? Why have they been propagated? And what can we and the energy industry do to change them? After all, in this case, perception in the public's eye is reality. According to Nietzsche, all things are subject to interpretation. Whichever interpretation prevails at the given time is a function of power, not truth. So how do we change this perception? Aldous Huxley says, there are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception. So how do we close these doors between the known and the unknown? Charles Moore says, your opinion is your opinion. Your perception is your perception. Do not confuse them with facts or truth. How do we get the fact or the truth out there? The first thing I looked at was the historical evolution of what the public thought of nuclear power. One has to remember the history and development of this type of energy. It was only in 1932 that the neutron was discovered. By 1939, we had split the first uranium atom. 1939 to 1945, Oppenheimer led the Manhattan Project, which saw the first atomic bomb. Just months after that, the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This, I believe, was the prime factor in public's misconception between nuclear weaponry and nuclear energy. From the start, this confusion existed between the nuclear energy and nuclear weaponry as seen here. Common historical misconceptions confused this energy with bomb making. Feeding this fear was Hollywood activists, sensationalism in the media, the hype that surrounded 3 Mile Island. China Syndrome. China Syndrome was a movie put out actually before TMI. However, after this, Hollywood took the opportunity to re-release it, and then this became fact, not fiction. It was no longer a movie, it was reality. B-movies such as this went forward, and this is what the public understood of nuclear energy. They did not know the facts. They did not have the technical knowledge. And we, as nuclear experts, did not portray that to them very well. This led to something called the Hiroshima syndrome. This is classically defined as the mortal fear of nuclear energy, and is usually based on one of three things. The first is the misconception that uranium is an explosive, and that the worst case scenario ends with a nuclear power plant detonating or exploding, destroying everything around it. 2, that a nuclear plant environmental release is the exact same thing as fallout from an atom bomb. And the third is that there is no safe level of radiation, that anything that you are exposed to is going to be associated with mutation, sickness, and death. They do not understand that radiation is a part of everyday life. The sun, the earth, even bananas. Now, I touched upon the no safe level of radiation by talking about the nonlinear threshold in my research paper. I find this very interesting because the basis of everything I have learned was based upon the nonlinear threshold. I will go further into this in my research paper and explain how we are now tearing this theory apart. As time progressed after the 1986 Chernobyl accident, which was a monumental, disastrous event, this demonstrated what could happen with horrid engineering design, blatant human disregard and error, lax safeguards, and a very poor casualty response. So as the time progressed after this accident, the government and industry started public outreach and education. And we combined this with society's new understanding of the detriment of climate change, of coal, of carbon. And this understanding led to a more favorable outlook for nuclear power. By the mid-2000s, the public had the first ever majority approval for nuclear power. At that time, the nuclear renaissance looked like a reality. However, on March 11th, 2011, an earthquake and resulting tsunami led to the incident that involved a partial meltdown and atmospheric release of fission products at Fukushima in Japan. Now, I'm not going to insult yours or the public's intelligence by saying there was nothing to worry about. I will say that it's not the hoopla it was made out to be, nor is it